I think boxing stole the headline again. I think boxing stole the headline again for this fight week. It was Conor fight week. It's one of the biggest stars in fighting. If not like the biggest active star in fighting. The biggest active star in fighting. I think Canelo's second. I'm willing to admit that. Mute my phone real quick. Tyson Fury has tested positive for COVID with the vaccine out. And the reasoning and excuse being said is he only took the first dose. Didn't go back for the second. I've defended Tyson Fury this whole process. I don't believe he cheated in the first fight. Now, I don't know 100%. How would I know 100%, right? But I don't believe he did. From the evidence I have, from what I've seen, nothing's really convinced me that he has. I think we were going to figure out most of it in the third fight, right? If it looked exactly the same, then you would say, and all the eyes on him, spotlight on him cheating, then you would say, we'd have to say, he didn't cheat. But I can't excuse this one. I know people feel weird, about COVID and all that, right? They feel weird about the vaccine and everything like that. But he took the first one. So, it's not like he was completely against the vaccine because he took the first one. So what I'm guessing is probably happened is he felt terrible after the first one and then just like, I'm not going back type of thing. And they're going to postpone the Wilder fight, right? They're going to postpone, which was supposed to take place in July 24th. Coming up on 3 weeks now, 32 weeks around there. And I'm curious now, legalities, right? Is okay, postpone it. But did Fury have in his contract that he did take the vaccine? Did he have in his contract that that he was, did he say he was fully, like, was there anything in the writing saying like, yes, I am completely vaccinated. There's no chance of delaying this fight, right? Because of COVID. But barring something else, the unexpected. And are they going to require a positive test from him, showing that he does have COVID, right? Is there arbitrator, someone, in the going to hold on the contract that he has to provide a positive test, and it's not just take his word for it? Because I imagine it can't be just take his word for it. I imagine it can't be. It doesn't seem possible. They could be take his word for it. So he has to provide a positive test. And the thing with this fight is, it's like there's just so many theories and everything going on with it that this just piled on it is just almost like it's almost too much. You know what I mean? Like where there's like smoke, there's fire type of thing. I'm getting the point on the other side now. Like all the Wilder fans and everything like that, I'm starting to see the point. This one is like a bit suspicious, but maybe it's just it isn't. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just the guy got COVID. He only took the first one dose and got COVID, and it's just looks suspicious because of everything else going on. But maybe none of it's suspicious. Maybe it's one of those things where it looks suspicious, but it's just a lot of people wanting a certain something to happen, wanting a certain story to be correct, and maybe there's really nothing there. We're going to find out, because I'm sure that he has to provide a positive test. Now, people are saying that Fury didn't look good in camp. I don't know who sees this or this. Like I said, boxing Twitter, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. I don't know who sees this, right? I do see that he has scratches on his face, but everyone gets that from sparring. Okay, I've sparred years. I sparred 8 years. I always have bruises. Always. You get that in sparring. I know that necessarily means getting killed in sparring, but he has tough sparring partners. He has like 2 high-level heavyweights in sparring camp. So yeah, he's going to get hit. Does it benefit him more than Wilder? I'm not sure. It messes up with the timing of things, right? But Wilder more time with the new camp. That can't be negative for him. Fury, I guess you could say it's like more time for him to get in shape. But if he really has it, I think it, hurts him. If he really has it, it hurts him. Now, if he's lying, what benefit could he get? Maybe he doesn't feel like he's in shape, and it gives him time to get in shape. Or maybe he doesn't, maybe he's regretting the weight gain. He says, I got to lose the weight. Doesn't want to come in at that shape anymore. Rethinking that. But I just imagine that before, I know everybody's reactions right away. And I get it. I'm not even gonna go against what you're saying. I'm not gonna say that's crazy talking. I'm not. I don't know. That's what I'm kind of been taking my stance on. This like, I really don't know. But I think the answer's going to be revealed. They have to. But why one dose? Why would you do that? Why would you take that chance? When you have all this riding, like, because then that means that the Joshua fight would have been canceled anyways too. Like, it wasn't just this fight. Like it's irresponsible, I know, but everybody feels different about the vaccine. Like, you're not going to get people's thought process on it. I don't know. So most of the time, I never understand it. But it's disappointing. It is disappointing because this was a good month for fighting, and that was gonna kind of be like the bow on top. So they said they're gonna push it to October, which is pushing it pretty far. That's a pretty big difference away. It's not like they're pushing it a month. So you would have to stop camp. They would, I imagine, they keep working, but not like a camp, and then start camp again all over again. I could see it benefiting Wilder as well, but I'm sure Wilder wanted to get in there. I'm sure, especially at this point, like, camp is getting, heating up to that top point, getting tough, real tough sparring and all that. I'm sure, it's a lot of wear and tear on the body you're still going through. But I don't know. It seems like, it seems to be following Fury, right? So it's definitely like, dysfunction, I would say, in his camp. And, like I said, when there's smoke, there's fire. So I'm not even going to say, like, oh, it's crazy what if he's pulling out all these things that I'm hearing on Twitter. It could be right. I don't know, but I don't know the other way either. And I'm just going to say, let's just see what happens with the positive test. If they provide a positive test. But if I'm Wilder, I'm running with this. Of course, I run with this. I'm saying that he's scared. I'm saying that, he hadn't provided tests. I'm going to say that, he don't want this fight. He's trying to get out of it. All these things. I'm going to go with it. Yeah, why not? That's bulletin board material right there. Yeah, he should. He should do that. Because Fury would be doing the same thing. He definitely should do that. But, man, it's like this fight, this storylines don't ever end with this fight. You never like... Let's see here real quick. Make sure the mic... Yeah, it's this mic. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it's crazy. It's this fight can't seem... It seemed like it was coming quick. Like, all of a sudden, it's coming quick, right? It's made, and now it's going to happen in July. And now it's like, you're going to wait until October. It has to help the fight sales. Like, there's so much now going into this fight. So much time to talk about it. So much storylines. People are saying they're doing this because of, like, ticket sales. I don't think that... First of all, I don't think that's, like, a good strategy. Okay, right? Like, oh, ticket sales aren't good. Push it off. Why would that improve ticket sales later? If people don't care now, they're not going to care later. That doesn't help ticket sales. So I don't think that's the logic on that. Whether ticket sales are doing good or not, I don't know. I don't know that part of it. I'm not in on that part of it. I'm just like seeing what the news they gave me, and I try to break down the fights and break down what could happen and what can happen. But I don't know that part of it. I don't know I understand some of the logic of the bid side, but I don't know like the actual numbers, the pay-per-view. So I don't know anything of that. I don't even know the numbers I'm getting accurate. So people saying that, it's like, who knows, right? But I don't know why pushing it off a month would improve ticket sales. Sometimes I think that, they got to promote something quick, but they had enough time to promote this. They knew what they wanted. Top Rank and PBC have been doing this forever. PBC's not going to make that mistake of being like, oh, this is, signing a date to promote it and then backing out of it. PBC's not going to do that. Either Top Rank, they know what they need, the time they needed for this fight. And they knew there was a rematch, so they didn't need the most time to promote it. They only needed a press conference, a few interviews, and it would be good to go because they're already using the last promotion. Continue on this one. But I don't know. Like I said, smoke, there's fire, I guess. Does this change my pick at all or way I'm looking at the fight? Usually it doesn't. Last fight, I was going to go Wilder, and then he came in a lot heavier. And that made me go, I mean, I was gonna go Fury, but he came in a lot heavier, and that made me go Wilder because I was like, oh, he's not gonna be able to move from him. And I was wrong on that, and that made me sway my pick. And so I think I kind of got away from like outside stuff, made me sway my pick on what's going on with these fights. But I think I'm still, this doesn't change or differ. You know what I mean? My opinion on what's going to happen. I think Fury's going to win the fight. But it definitely you're getting to that point with with Fury that's like, you can't say that none of this is not true now, right? All the theories out there. He definitely makes it so where those can be true. I agree with that. I kind of, it's kind of hard to counter that. Like you told someone, no, you're crazy, whatever. Why? Why are you so confident that someone else is crazy? So we check out what Twitter's saying. We got Conor McGregor fighting too. I can talk on that too, but let's see here. People are pissed. Let's see. Hey, Manny Pacquiao Spence. Given the situation with Wilder, Fury, and with what happened with Lopez Cambosos. Oh yeah, Lopez and Cambosos got canceled. Same thing. Top rank guy. So I mean, it's not like it's an unprecedented situation. It's happened before. If you haven't done so yet, please get vaccinated and or the second dose. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't had more of these. I mean, we did during the pandemic, but I'm probably going to have it now. I know for sure, like, Josh Taylor didn't get vaccinated. Right? When he fought Jose Ramirez, I think he's, like, completely against all that. I'm pretty sure. So, I think we've been pretty fortunate up until this point, whether you believe it or not. Also, team test positive for COVID while about postponed. Let's see here. People are waiting for the Conor McGregor press conference, which I'm pretty interested in as well. Like Tyson Fury bronze World fight is being postponed to early October at the T-Mobile Arena. Fury is sick, but not that sick. Professional line. And the officials tell me, but tells me, but all are realistic about what this virus can potentially do. So people aren't believing this. Like Deuce, Ranger Rollins, he's not believing it. He's definitely more leaning in a favorable side for Deontay Wilder. Like I said though, how can I say they're wrong, right? How can I say Ranger Rollins is wrong, right? Now I disagree with them on like the fight. I disagreed with them from like what the case I seen that Fury had cheated in the second fight. But now, like, I mean, I don't know. It's just like a lot. It's a lot adding up type of thing. The fight will reveal all, right? It's going to reveal all. But I can't say that, until I see a positive test, I can't say Tyson Fury didn't do this on purpose to buy himself more time. I can't say that. Third fight between Tyson Fury and Dustin Wilder is officially postponed, as Fury himself is among at least 8 members of his camp that tested positive for COVID. Then reveal first report. Okay. Let's see. Jake Paul. I'll read it. Dana White, you may have bullied your way to controlling thousands of fighters' careers, but I have never said I want to sign with the UFC, because Dana White claimed that on a news thing, someone said that you paid. Someone told Dana White, a reporter who didn't do his research, that he had paid Jake Paul a lot of money, but he's not paying the rest of the fighters. And Dana White goes, I never paid Jake Paul. Jake Paul wanted to sign with me, but I said no. Okay. So that's what he's talking about. But I've never wanted to sign with the UFC, nor will I ever. Maybe I would consider letting you co-promote one of my events against the UFC champion like you did for Conor when he fought Floyd. Smart, like Jake Paul. Now, whether he's writing these or not, right? I don't know. This is like a point where in Twitter, a lot of the boxers, like the managers, write these things, or someone else writes this for them. Whether or not, why is it a smart take, right? Is he's not just 100%, like, the problem, like, you could just go negative, right, at Dana White, right? And you could say, like, we never do this. He leaves the part open, right? He's not putting himself in a box. He leaves the part open where he's still willing to do business with them, as long as it's a co-promotion. They promote their fighter, and he gets works out his own deal, like the Floyd Mayweather thing. So he's still telling you, like, he's still putting it out there, so no one could be like, oh, you're working on the UFC now. No, he's telling you, he's being 100% honest, and giving you clearly what their plans are, or what they're thinking, or what they see as maybe possible in the future, that he's willing to co-promote if it's a fight that makes sense. It's gonna make money for everyone, right? So that's I like when people do stuff like this because it's honesty. Like he's giving you that he has an actual plan and he's not just talking to talk. Because you wouldn't let Conor actually do it himself without you taking your cut, which is true. You live in lies, and every major fighter on your roster has complained about pay. Conor, Jones, Masvidal, Diaz, Ngannou. You even make up fake belts to sell tickets instead of giving Amanda Nunes her opportunity to headline, which what he just did with Derek Lewis and Cyril Gain. Yeah, because he didn't think Manny Nunez could headline. I don't personally think Manny Nunez is gonna sell a lot of pay-per-views. So it's unfortunate, maybe that is, but I think it's more lack of competition than anything. She just dominates her weight class so much that, and the level below her is just so steep that I don't know, you can't do it. So the UFC had to make a fake belt, an interim title fight to headline the event when Francis Ngannou just won it. So he's referencing there. Opportunity headline. Remember, Dana, you were a cardio kickboxing instructor and you didn't even create the UFC. Gracie and Davey created it. And the Freitas saved it. And the fighters made it popular. You're a bald bum and you can't do an interview now without being asked about me. Pay your fighters more. The way Jake Paul's attacking is like perfect. That's perfectly said, perfectly written. Stuck to the perfect points, right? And he's slowly pointing out the flaws that are legitimate flaws in the UFC model or business model or how they handle things or how they treat the fighters. This is all good. This is all legitimate here. And the part that Jake Paul is going to make so much money off his fights gives him a thing to stand on because he's not just like a guy talking, right? That, there's a lot of MMA writers that talk and they say this and they talk about fighters pay and all that, but they don't really have nothing to stand on, right? Jake Paul does. Jake Paul has cameras on him. He's going to be in major fights. He's getting paid more than the fighters in the UFC. He knows, he's actually familiar with what's going on, contracts and everything like that. So it gives him something to stand on and his actual name. He's honestly bringing the most attention to this probably than anyone ever. In fighting, more than John Jones, more than Ngannou, more than anyone. I don't really think Conor's really ever talked about this because Conor has complained about maybe his pay, but he's never complained about other fighters' pay or, Conor, he's never attacked it like this. Conor's never said like, oh, the UFC doesn't pay their fighters. I don't think he's ever really done that. No, he's never done that. And Dana can't really just get rid of this guy. And you're looking like this, especially like the way that Ngannou with his management team and the way Dana like talks to them, stuff like that. It's like if you had a company for like the 1950s and you put them in today. And they had to adjust to the rules. That's what it looks like sometimes in the UFC. And it looks like it's growing. And now like the world is getting involved into the UFC. And you can see the little flaws in it. And the way that Dana White tries to talk to people or the way they try to do business with people. And like, these management agencies, they're experienced. They've been doing business with major studios and major deals in the music industry and everything. They're not unfamiliar with with these things, and Dana's trying to talk to them like they're all idiots. It's not going to work, and you're seeing that happen. You're seeing like it break apart a little bit, like it's becoming too big for him in a way. And the only way he could keep it right is to keep Bellator low, right? Keep diminishing Bellator, make sure Bellator doesn't grow up, make sure PFL doesn't go, and get these guys these contracts that they can never get out of. As long as he keeps doing that, right? But one day someone's going to put money in Bellator and say, no, we're going to sign all the prospects and we're going to pay them big contracts, right? And as soon as Bellator gets a star, a legitimate bankable star, the whole thing's going to change. This whole thing's going to flip on its head. And I think that's the mistake the UFC is making is sometimes they like turn their back on their stars. One of these guys is going to get out of this contract and walk. And if it's true Ngannou only has one fight left on his deal, they're not going to let him fight until he signs another contract. That's another thing that maybe no one's talking about here. I heard Luke Thomas say that he has one fight left on his contract. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I know that when a champion has one fight left on the contract, they usually want him to sign an extension. Ngannou goes to Bellator. Stuff like that could flip this whole thing on its head. But I'm just telling you that sometimes the businesses get too spread out. Why did Rome stop, dominating the world? Because their military got too spread out. The training got, it was too much. They were distant land. they weren't able to communicate or get the training that they need to keep the strength up, right? The UFC is kind of in a similar boat. It's getting too spread out. They're dealing with different agencies now, different people, a lot of money involved, a lot more eyes watching it. And if you think that Dana White's just going to run it like he's been running it, with all this going on, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to be able to just scream and shout and get stuff done. It won't. And this is where things begin to fall apart and things begin to break even now for other promotions. And Jake Paul's the one kind of leading it in a way. At least he's the voice for it, like almost like the narrator of what's going on. Let's see here. You know this press conference is about to be good. Look the way Conor's walking. This is probably the first time ever, besides the Floyd fight, that I picked against Conor to lose a fight. But I am picking against Conor, and I don't feel good about it. I don't. I want to switch my pick so bad, but that's just my heart talking. The way I look at it is like, Dustin Poirier is not going to jump forward and make mistakes this fight. He knows, like, I'll bite my time. Let me start making moves in the third, the fourth. I just think he's just got to weather Conor's storm in the first 2 rounds. I think Conor's going to be way more pressing him against the fence in this fight. I really do. I don't think he wants to deal with that middle ground because of calf kicks, but because he also got hit, and he stood in front of Poirier. It wasn't like he didn't get punched. He got punched. He got punched too. Like in the second round, he got countered a lot. I think that he wants to use I think he felt Poirier's grappling. I think he felt like his clinch in the against the fence. I don't think he's worried about that. And I think that Poirier's grappling and everything is kind of overrated in a way. I think he uses a lot of strength. He's crafty, but I don't think he's all around skilled or like a technician on that. I don't, and I think Conor probably knows that too. I was laughing because Conor said like only knockouts. He said I don't care about. He says I see when they fight me, they're scared. They dive for my legs. They go for calf kicks. They shell up, and he says all I care about. He goes I just care about knockouts, right? And he goes they do all this because they're scared of me. And I was like he's. That's basically what a boxer would say, right? Like this is everything opposite of what he said to Floyd, because he said in MMA it's a full range of fighting, and this is limited. And then when he gets to MMA, he says, "I just want to box." That's basically what he said. And when he told Poirier, like, "Don't take me down. You're a coward if you do. I thought you were the best boxer in MMA." I'm glad that he acknowledges it, right? I think that if this is gonna be the fight of the year, it's gonna go with the hands. It's gonna be with the hands. I think that I don't know why we can't, at least accept that part. I know maybe you don't like boxing or whatever. Accept the part that if this is going to be fight of the year, it's going to be because of the hands. It's not going to be because they're both taking each other down. It's not going to be because they're both clinching each other against the fence. But it's funny. I like that he talks up both sides of his mouth on that. Let's see here. Would it be nice to keep the fights underneath Wilder and Fury? It is a solid heavyweights event. Joyce to come saving the 24th. It's not though, but I do like Joyce a lot. I think Joyce is underappreciated heavyweight. I think he's the Fury. When Fury beat Klitschko, for some reason, like that just got brushed under the rug. He outboxed Klitschko, who had outboxed everyone, and that just got brushed under the rug. And like everybody just like kind of forgot about Fury, and he didn't help because he didn't fight, right? But no one really talked about him. Like the only guy, and I'm gonna give credit where it's due, Joe Rogan, would always talking about like, hey, Fury outboxed Klitschko, and I would be saying the same thing. I'm like, no one talks about this guy. When he came to fight Wilder, I was like, well, that's a tough fight, like for Wilder. I was like, I know, Wilder's running through everyone, but this guy can box and he's big. I feel the same feeling with Joyce. Joyce is a better technical boxer than you're thinking. You need to go back and watch him like in the World Series or whatever the hell that boxing thing was, where they're like amateurs fighting pro fights. Look what he can do. He's a technical fighter. He's a smart fighter. Now, he's slow, yes, but he could take a shot. Like, he's like a juggernaut. And he just applies pressure, and he just breaks you, and his jab hurts. Like, he has George Foreman-like power. I think he's, like, really, really underrated. I don't think people talk about him enough. I think he has a chance of being the guy that we see, like, come out of, like, to everybody else, is going to come out of nowhere and win the world title, and maybe beat, a Joshua Fury, a Wilder, and maybe people are gonna be surprised. I'm gonna call it right now. I'm putting my chips in. I think he's gonna do that. I think if he fights one of those guys, they're gonna have a real hard time with him. I think Fury maybe has the best chance because he can move around, and Joyce is not the fastest feet in the world. But a guy like Joshua, I think he'd have to fight a perfect fight to get out of that. And he would have to get to, I don't think he's going to knock him out. So I think he's going to have to box a perfect 12 rounds. Wilder, he knocks out everyone if he lands more than like 2 good shots, 3 good shots, but Joyce just seems like to be able to take shots. And he can hit and he could jab. And I think his jab would really affect Wilder getting in position to set up his shots. I really like Joyce. I think Joyce is very, very good. McGregor admits he was too focused on Pacquiao, overlooked Poirier. All jokes aside, this Joker any good because every time I see him fight, he gets scalped. I just think okay, yes, I do think he looked over Poirier. He even said it. He had said that he wanted to fight Poirier. He's a southpaw, Pacquiao southpaw. He was like trying to mix it into his camp type of thing. That's like I've seen that flaw happen too many times. And people are blaming like the boxing stance and all this stuff that he's not a good boxer. Let's just be honest. Like McGregor, right? He's good with his hands, but he's not like when he was doing the boxing techniques for that fight, he didn't look good. I would be like, oh, he's like a low-level brawler. That's what he looked like. But it wasn't the stance that lost him the fight. It was when he fought Khabib in the first round, he just went in there like he would just, like if you look at the Eddie Alvarez, right? He's on his P's and Q's in that fight. He's moving, he's shadowing. Whatever Eddie Alvarez does, everything Eddie Alvarez did, he had a reaction to, whether it was moving out, whether it was moving an angle, whether it was punching and striking, everything. He was on his P's and Q's. And the Khabib fight, first round, he was not on his P's and Q's. He thought he was just going to walk him down and knock him out. He thought he would hit him in the first round or something and knock him out. Now, Conor showed that even in that fight, he's honestly probably did the best with Khabib than any of the other top guys, besides maybe Aquinta, right? But in the Poirier fight, he just kind of walked him in like, I'm going to knock this dude out. Like he was like sparring. Like he was sparring some bum. And he was super effective. Like in the first round, he was super effective. Only went 2 rounds. He was effective in the first round. He landed big shots. Now, when the leg kick started happening and it started becoming a tougher fight, actually, he started quitting in there. I could see that. I know everyone say cardio and all that. It's just, he quit. He started facing those demons. But I don't think he took it serious. I don't boxing stance. And yeah, if you stand in front of someone and you just let them kick you, yes, no matter what stance you're in, that's going to be a problem. It wasn't like, oh, he's in there trying to box. It was working. It wasn't not working. It was working. But yes, no matter what stance you use, whatever, if I stand in front of someone and I just allow them to hit me and kick me at will, yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to break me down. No doubt about it. I think that's a really overrated thing. It wasn't that. It was like, hey, you can still move in a boxing stance. You don't have to just stay here. It doesn't mean your feet are concrete to the floor. I just think people focusing on that. And I don't think that's that huge a thing. Okay, maybe he does more of the karate stance, but I think that's just more to get in the flow of what he used to do. Even when he fought Floyd, he didn't do no boxing. He didn't try to become the brawler like he was. He was just trying to find power that he didn't have in boxing. And he was never going to have, even with that style. Let's see here.
Fighter juice is flowing again, and first of all, you inspired me, Mike, because what are you, 56, Mike?
Yeah,
56, 55.
De La Hoya is officially your drunk uncle.
And looking as good as you did against Roy, who's a master, right? And just for coming back and doing, you inspired me, so I said I want to do it too. But in back of my head,
De La Hoya's head and hair tells me that he cannot fight anymore. He's going to lose to Vitor Belfort. He will lose to Vitor Belfort. There may not be an official decision on it, but he's going to lose, and we're all going to know it.
Humans are telling me, no, you got to do it, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, I know how that works.
He's your drunk uncle.
You know what I'm saying?
I know how your subconscious makes a bitch out of you.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to do 2 of these fights, I want to do... No, hold on. I want to do 2 of these fights, and then guess what? I want to do a real fight, a 12-round fight, with either Floyd or Canelo.
This happened before. He was going to do 2 fights, then fight Floyd before in the rematch. It was going to happen. He fought Stephen Forbes and then got lit up by Pacquiao. This happened before. This is history repeats itself.
I never heard no shit like this.
This is what's happening, okay?
It's just nonsense. I'm just going to point it out now just so no one's like, oh, well, look what happened with Delaware. Delaware's like 48 years old. He's your drunk uncle at a party. He's talking crazy. He's talking madness. I'm going to point it out. He's going to lose to Vitor Belfort. The guy's too big. The guy can punch. He's not technically great, but he's an able-bodied fighter. He's not going to, like, extremely be lost in there. And then against Delaware, it's going to have, like, zero lift, explosion, or speed. He's going to get very tired. He's not going to have the timing that he thinks he has. He's not going to even understand, oh, man, my punches are not where they used to be. The guy's going to put pressure on him. He's going to tire out. It's going to be a very sloppy, ugly fight. He's just talking nonsense. And I think he's got to call it on it now. Like, we have to be honest with it. These exhibition fights, these old fighters and all that, it don't interest me, but we have to really call it out like what it is, because fighting's a young man's sport. Now, whether Delaware was super skilled at one point, he's not that anymore. He doesn't have that anymore. He might have, hits a bag and you're like, oh, I could see it. Yeah, he has that where he hits a bag and you can see some kind of resemblance of what he once was, but he doesn't have enough to be like, oh, he's going to go in there and smoke a bunch of fighters. No, he doesn't have that. It's ridiculous. Look at the Kings, they just did on Showtime, right? Look at like Sugar Ray Leonard at the end, and look at Hearns at the end. It just happens. And it doesn't mean like, oh, he was better than him at boxing. No, it doesn't mean anything. It's just nothing. It's a shell of himself. With the exhibition showed me, it's just like this age thing. It's like if you go on your run, you're the champion, right? You go and then someone knocks you out and you're like 36 years old. You come back one more. Guy knocks you out again. You're done. That's it. That's done. We got to have a cutoff point, right? Where we stop counting wins against these guys. That's what makes Pacquiao Spence so tough. But Pacquiao just beat Thurman, so I can't say didn't just beat him. Like he beat him 2 years ago, but that was his last fight. He beat Thurman, so it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like who smoked Pacquiao? No one. Like, who's knocked out Pacquiao besides Marquez when he was still in his prime? Who's knocked him out? No one recently. So that's why that one still counts. Still a legacy fight. But they're gonna do what? Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler? That's a legacy fight still? That's still gonna affect their legacy? Why? You gonna be counting and be like, remember that time Nick Diaz beat Robbie Lawler when Robbie Lawler was shot? Or when Nick Diaz hadn't fought in like 5 years? We gotta do a cutoff point here. Not all wins are equal. I'm starting to realize that. And that makes it a lot more complicated when you're going over like fights and the fights are gonna happen, stuff like that. But I mean, if Conor knocked out Lennox Lewis right now, did he really knock out Lennox Lewis though? No. He didn't knock out Lennox Lewis. He knocked out the shell of Lennox Lewis, yes. Logan Paul went 8 rounds of Floyd. He didn't win the fight. Now, I think that, of course he didn't win the fight, but I think people, maybe people less knowledge think maybe he did, or maybe they thought, maybe they're just, you get so pumped and you root for someone, and when they just at least look maybe slightly competitive, or they just did better than what you hoped for, or better than you thought, you could kind of sway you, because you're just like, so like, I can't believe this, right? That happened in some Floyd fights, where like the guy would just like kind of be more competitive, and you were like, oh, look at it, like he's doing something, he's actually getting some work in. You could feel like the guy won, right? But I think Floyd's an old man, right? I think if Floyd was 36 years old, I think he would knock out. I think he would have put it on Logan Paul, but he couldn't, because he's an old man. He didn't have it anymore. Like he just didn't have it anymore. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's a young man's sport. Nonetheless, it's not. If Logan Paul went and fought BJ Penn right now, Logan Paul would win that fight. I hope people realize that. If Logan Paul fought BJ Penn right now, MMA fight, that's the same weight difference, whatever, he would win that fight. That's the thing that, like, I know people are like, oh, like, how could you do that in boxing? Boxing's done, right? Like, you didn't knock him out. Logan Paul would beat BJ Penn. I think that's a fight that could be made. Logan Paul would beat BJ Penn in an MMA fight. It doesn't say much. This is why you have guys in their prime in the rankings and all that, because that means something. At those points, BJ Penn is not BJ Penn. He's not BJ Penn when he was BJ Penn. If a guy at LA Fitness, right, if he beats Michael Jordan one-on-one right now, does that mean that he was better than Michael Jordan? No, it doesn't even, no one even bat an eye at that. What Dave Portnoy hit a ball off of like a professional retired pitcher. That doesn't mean, who gives a damn? Does that mean he's a better baseball player than that pitcher? No. These exhibitions made me just rethink, and I watched the Kings, and they made me rethink, well, what wins really matter and count? It's like a Bill Simmons thing. It's like a Bill Simmons segment he would do like in the NBA, but we should go and say, like, this is the cutoff point for this guy. This is when wins against him stop mattering. I think after Roy Jones got knocked out by Glenn Johnson, I think that was it. I don't think any wins after that counted against Roy Jones. And I'm including Calzaghe. I don't think it counted anymore. I thought he was done. You had missed the boat on Roy Jones. Bernard Hopkins went all the way. But as soon as Joe Smith... no, not Joe Smith. I think when Dawson beat Bernard. I think that was it. I don't remember what came first though, Dawson or Pascal. But I believe Dawson fought him after and beat him. I think that was it. I was no more. You're no more getting credit for beating Bernard Hopkins. No. I think we have to go back. I just break down every fighter, like every legend, as being like, this is when they count, this is when they don't. Or Burl Duran one's gonna be confusing because he had like a point where he just didn't care about fighting in the middle, and then came back and won a title. So I would have to count the ones in the middle. It's unfortunately Burl Duran, out of undiscipline, affects his legacy. It just does. But that's it for today. That's it for I didn't even say for Straight to Video podcast. Thank you for listening.